bankable host Brian Eseli.
I'm Mariam Bishar. Of course, we're in convo with Beryl Adjwang, who is a food loss and waste associate at the World Resources Institute. And we're talking about how we can find climate finance for food loss and waste reduction. She's just explained to us exactly how much of the food that we produce goes to waste, how much of it is lost before it even gets to market, quote unquote. But a lot of people will be like, hey, listen, my plate is full. Why should I really care about those things? So they're not even aware that they are wasting food. But Beryl, tell us why it's important for all of us to be aware of the amount of wastage that goes on, and exactly why we should care and be more cognizant of how we consume.
Thank you very much. So again, let me get back to some of the statistics. So I gave you a national figure. Now let's get to our plates. It's 99 kilos per person per year in Kenya. Those are the estimates provided by the Food Waste Index, UNEP 2021. And so it means every individual has a social responsibility, right, to ensure that which we get, we don't lose it.
Yes.
Now, if move back a little bit upwards and look at how much effort is put into the production. Think about the resources, the water, the fertilizer, the energy, the labor, right? And most of us are smallholder farmers, meaning labor is actually sourced from family level.
True.
So
no, it's not a tractor, it's people.
It's people, right? It's people. And then think about the income. It's a livelihood. You see, agriculture is a livelihood, not just in Kenya, but in Africa. It commands the largest share of our GDP to a great extent. So when you think about food waste, you also think about the farmer and the livelihoods and the households that are attached to that. Think about also businesses. Think about communities at large. So when you think about food loss, you need to think about the critical aspects of this is tied to somebody's livelihood. So if I'm wasting it at the tail end, it means the resources that had been used upstream or also actually goes to waste. Now, the other element of food loss and waste that we need to think about, how many of us have been to Mudhurwa or Kangemi? All these markets, right? When you pass through, there's always a bad stench, right? Nyanya zimetupwa hapo, drainage iko clogged, inanuka. There's an element of environmental concern. Now, food waste, when it's rotting, emits a gas we call methane. For those the chemistry.
Yes.
And methane is 80 times more dangerous than carbon dioxide. So anytime you see a landfill where there's food rotting, definitely think about the emissions related to that. And we are saying that at the global level, food loss and waste emits 8 to 10%. What does that mean? It means it's the third largest country emitter
in terms of
after
emissions.
USA and China.
That is Kenya.
No, food loss and waste.
Oh,
generally.
food loss. Okay. You've talked about crazy statistics. You've said approximately 1.3 billion tons annually. That's what we globally lose. We lose, or it's even wasted in terms of food. But how best can we get to create a balance on this? Because there's some areas where there's high food insecurity, and in some areas there is just food security. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Thank you very much. One of the ways to create balance, number one, of course, is there's need for what we term as value chain development. I'll give you an example. I was recently speaking to a CEO of a company, and they do a lot of tomatoes. And he was saying, a few months ago, he was buying tomatoes at 75 kgs.
Oh, 75 shillings per kg.
75 shillings per kg.
Yes.
Now, he's buying it at 13. So there's a glut, right? Well, so you find that because most crops are seasonal, so mango will be in season, there'll be lots of mangoes, and then there'll be no mangoes.
Yes.
So the question is, how can we ensure that the value chain is well developed, that we have linkages to the right people? So him as a processor, he needs all the tomatoes he can
get his hands
exactly.
on. Yeah.
But then there are the value chain is not well developed. How can I get tomato farmers? How can I get, it's not, you don't go to one place and then you find what you need.
Also, it's seasonal.
It's also seasonal, right? So it's a question of value chain development. It's a question of market linkages. Now, Makueni does, and I told you we'll come back to this. Makueni, the eastern part, Makueni does very well with fruits. And when it's mango season, right? December is coming.
December, I'm best friends with Mariam. It's mango season.
Everyone is my best friend in December.
Yeah, but then Did you know that almost 50% of this is lost? Not because farmers have not done their part. They have done their part. But because there are no clear market linkages. Now, during that time, where I come from, there are no mangoes. A good portion of the country will not have mangoes. But how do we export this from Makueni to ensure that there is a market on the other side? It's something that I think we need to start thinking about, even as a country, inter-county trade, before we even think about
international.
international.
It's very expensive to actually trade county to county, and that's something that we also need to talk about. We'll get into detail in just